Hello, guys, and welcome back to episode 4 of East Intersection. Today it's just going to be me, and Hala will meet us back in episode 5. I actually brought a guest with me today. Asma, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Azma Ali, and I am a software engineer at Microsoft and a very good friend of Sabrina's. Thank you for bringing me on.
No problem. So, as you guys know, throughout this mini-series, we've been talking about a lot of mental health issues and occupational pressure and how your background has effects on what career choice you choose. So, Asma is going to give us some insight based on what she experienced and how she grew up. So, do you want to get into it right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm ready.
So, let's get into like your cultural. Did you think any cultural influence was on your life and how you were like growing up and what decisions you made?
So I am the youngest of 4.
Okay.
And I'm so sorry, 3. I keep forgetting my half sister. So yeah.
Okay.
So 3 older siblings. Their age gaps were 10, 8, and 7.
Mhm.
So by the time I was in high school, most of my siblings were in post-secondary.
Yes.
My oldest sibling, she is a shining star. She was doing everything right, optometry school, went to study abroad. And then my other 2 siblings who were in the middle were just trying to figure things out. I had one sister who wanted to study interior design. My dad said, "What is that?" And he was not having it, refused to even pay for her school, not 1 cent. And then we had my other brother, on the other hand, who was really good at school, middle school, high school, got all the awards, and was struggling in uni.
Oh, okay.
And he even had his own mental health issues.
Okay.
And was flipping from work full-time to school to I want to go to a school in another province. And but the one thing my dad always wanted was that he was in school, and that's all that mattered, and doing something that he approved of. So, engineering, anything under the STEM umbrella. So when it came to when it got to the time where I had to decide what I wanted to do, I already had the right path, how it looked,
Yes.
and how my sister was treated, and then my brother who was unsure, confused, but still had that support, and then my other sister who was not supported whatsoever because of her career path that she chose. So I was very overwhelmed. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew a lot of young girls in the Somali community were nurses or doctors.
Of course. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, maybe I should just do that. There's good money in it. And the best part is that I can hit somebody up. I can hit up my own sister. I could become an optometrist like her. And when I needed to figure out what my extracurricular courses were going to be, in grade 10, there was one that talked about healthcare. And I had a lot of friends who were so excited about it. They're like, oh, this course is going to get introduced.
Oh, yeah.
And we need a lot of people to show interest or they're not going to offer the class.
And
I was like, oh yeah, I want to go into healthcare, I want to be a nurse, but I'm just saying this because this is so normal.
Yeah.
You can't do, like, the idea of me being an engineer now, if you told 15-year-old Asma, she would not believe you. So fortunately, I spoke to my brother.
Yes.
And I had a very transparent relationship with my older siblings, and he said, why don't you take coding? And I said, what are you talking about?
So your brother was the one that introduced you into coding?
Yes. And my brother also introduced me to a hobby that I still do today, which is gaming. And,
you're a gamer girl.
Yeah, I'm a very, very big gamer girl, and I'm so glad that my brother introduced it to me at such a young age, because it was a catalyst for me getting into coding, because games and coding, it's like it's very they go hand in hand. And if you ask a lot of like engineers, they're mostly gamers, from what I know. So gaming is a really good gateway to coding, and I was so scared. I was like, we'll see. I kept brushing it off. But
do you fear change? Is that what was stopping you?
It maybe wasn't. I think at the time, yeah.
Okay.
I want to say a little bit like it was like, like the people that take that course are weird, like, like.
Yeah.
But then, like, now that I think about all the other courses that I took in grade 11 and 12, there were not a lot of people that looked like me. So it's
Okay.
good that I got introduced in grade 10 to being a minority in that space.
Yes.
So when I found out that the healthcare course was no longer going to be offered, I had to take coding. I was like, there's really nothing else. And when I took it, I didn't like the teacher. I didn't like the software that they used to teach us. But like now that coding is so popular and there's so many different resources, I'm kind of like, okay, there's nothing else to teach us with. But it did teach me the fundamentals. I did struggle. There were a lot of people who, from certain backgrounds that are very represented in this and this field. They picked up on it, and I was like, oh damn, like maybe your dad's a coder. And guess what? I found out one girl, her dad was like a computer engineer, and I was like, okay, you have a head start.
Got insider info.
Yeah, definitely insider info. And but I didn't let that. One thing about me is I never let failure define me.
Oh, okay.
I did not care about grades. I was like, I know what I like, and I know that this way things are taught and how grades are distributed doesn't define me.
That's a good trait.
But I'm gonna keep pushing. So even though I got like a 70 and I hated the teacher, I still took it in grade 11.
Oh, okay. 70 is not a bad grade though.
Yeah, it's not a bad grade, but us immigrant kids, better luck next time. It's a B.
Yeah. Of course.
So I definitely I got my feet wet with that course, and I knew I liked it, so I just kept it pushing.
So you're thankful for that little exposure?
I was thankful for that exposure, and when I took it in grade 11, I had a great teacher. He was also he was a black man, and
okay.
we just saw each other.
Yeah.
Like he was just like, oh, like wow, you're here, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here. And we developed a really good relationship, and he ended up being my math teacher, and he gave me really good advice that I give to other people that I come across and I'm also mentoring. I say, whenever you're learning how to code, just once you're done, try to break it.
Your own code?
Like change some stuff around.
Yeah.
And see if it still works.
Oh, okay.
And I love that idea because like the way coding was taught in uni, it was very textbook.
Oh, okay.
And I liked the practical approach that he took, and I never forgot it. And if I never had him as a teacher in grade 11, and like the same teacher that I had in grade 10, I don't think I would have continued.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
having a good teacher has so much impact on you.
Very, very, very helpful. But I had that same teacher from grade 10 and grade 12. Fireworks, because I knew what I was doing now.
Yeah.
And I would pester her, and I'd say, regrade this. Like I'm going to uni.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to do computer science in uni, and she'd say things like, you're not going to survive.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was a grade 11, 12 split class, so there's only 3 people in my grade, grade 12, that were in that class, and we butt heads a lot, and it was very, very stressful on me because I was very passionate about coding at that time. Like I was trying to make an app. I had interest outside the classroom, and this grade would make it or break it for my GPA to get into uni. So definitely my experience with coding was rocky, but it gave me good exposure. It taught me, hey, you're not always gonna have the best teachers, and failure is okay.
That's so important. So did you ever, like during those times where the teacher was pressuring you and she wouldn't give you the marks you wanted, have you ever considered like dropping out and to like going the traditional route of nursing or anything?
No, because I knew nursing felt like I was doing myself a disservice.
Oh, okay.
Even at a young age, like now I know that I can't do things that I don't want to do. But then it didn't feel right. I was just like, even though I am having a lot of roadblocks with coding, I do like it. I like how practical it is. I like that I can do so much. There's so many options. And I wanted to finish school and be a game developer. Like that
Oh,
was
okay.
that was pushing me. I kept saying I want to make games. I want to make the next Halo. Like if it still exists, I
Yeah.
want to be on that team. So I just kept reminding myself about what I want.
So you had an end goal in mind.
I definitely had an end goal in mind, and I knew that, like, just looking at my siblings and their own experiences, you can't, there's no perfect path.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to make sure that you have drive.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like I even like when once I talk about like my own, like with like my uni and my GPA, a lot of people would think that I wouldn't have ended up with the job I have now.
Mm-hmm.
But because I don't give up,
Mm-hmm.
that's what set me apart
Yes.
from these like standards and stereotypes.
Okay, so when you were like applying for university and stuff, I know you touched on this a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but because it was so uncommon for women to be in STEM back then,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that your parents were more forcibly trying to push you away from the career path?
My
Like, how did they react?
my mom, when I told her, she had a smile on her face. When she came to Canada and started school at Humber College, she did computer programming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but when I was born, there wasn't. She couldn't. She didn't have the luxury of being able to complete her program.
Mm-hmm.
But when I told her, she was very happy. She said, I used to code in C language, and you're doing you're learning C++ in high school. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're similar, and so it was great.
So you had that support from your mom?
I had that support from my mom, but it wasn't as intense
Mm-hmm.
as like other people's parents. She was just like, yeah, that you can go for it.
Oh, okay.
But they're definite. Like my mom wasn't very present with my school.
Oh, okay.
As well. Like
Yeah.
my mom supported me outside, like in the home and outside, but school was kind of like me and my dad's. It was more my dad's business than hers.
Yeah.
But I did get the support from her.
Okay.
Whereas with my dad, he had, his own issues with my middle siblings and them not doing what he wanted, especially when he had my older sister finishing school, going to optometry school in the UK. He wanted that. He wanted a second good child.
Yeah.
And I was his last resort. So he would ask me questions like, hey, like, what's computer science? Like, I was in tech. I did Cisco certificates, but what is that?
Yeah.
I would finish and I'd be able to be a software engineer. I would, work at, companies like Google and Microsoft. Those are always my goals, even from high school.
Yeah.
And he was just like, okay, we'll see where this goes.
So he didn't really believe in it.
Yeah, he didn't believe it. But I was like, okay, like, it's either I do this or I'm not going to school, or like I'm gonna do something that is gonna, like, the unknown is better than me doing something you completely don't approve of, like interior design, like my sister. Because obviously that has a track record of like virtually no opportunities.
Okay, yeah.
So he was hesitant, but I was just like, just let me do my thing. Like, and he had his plate full too, so I did sneak under the radar.
Okay.
Yeah, I did, fortunately.
Lucky being the youngest.
Yeah. When it's when there's a certain time, you get away with anything. You're like the middle child.
So when you look at where he's coming from as a father and an immigrant, do you think it comes from him just wanting you guys to have good opportunities in life and having stable income?
Yeah, but I also think it has, like, it's easier to say, hey, my kid's studying to be a doctor, and versus, hey, my kid is doing their own thing. But let's say doing their own thing ends up being like a gold mine, right?
Yeah.
Then when they actually get the gold, it's like, oh, my kid is doing this and I have this and I'm living it up and I have the life that I wanted if I envision them doing certain occupations.
Yeah.
So it's just hard for them to hug the idea of not knowing that you're going to be secure versus them placing you on a path that they're very comfortable with and are comfortable telling people too. I feel like it's also
So it
an
has a little bit
embarrassment, you know. Like,
reputation.
yeah, reputation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, seeking your parents' approval, do you think it ever give you second doubts about going into STEM?
I feel like I seek my parents' approval now more than I did before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because I saw how my older sister was treated, doing the right thing, and then my middle siblings kind of not following the right path and how they were treated. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. You know, I have the luxury to be able to see into my future based on certain choices, and I know that I don't want a headache.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a headache if I choose optometry and then my dad is paying X amount of money every year, and if I don't actually like that program, he's losing that money.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have, my siblings who are in limbo with what they want to do,
Mm-hmm.
and they're also still stressed.
Okay.
So I said, I'm gonna make my own path,
Yes.
but still be respectful to my parents and have a plan
Mm-hmm.
rather than just telling them, filling my arms and saying I'm not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Yada 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 yada. I feel like there's a certain approach, and
Mm-hmm.
it really depends on what kind of relationship you have with your parents,
Mm-hmm.
because not everybody has
A good relationship.
yeah
with your
they don't have that foundation where they can be open and transparent.
parents.
So I think that also comes in to play when you want to make your decisions, because if you're too scared to even convey your own opinions,
Mm-hmm.
then that's like life is just going to be hard. If you
Yeah.
can't tell the most important people that you don't want to do something, you'll get steamrolled in the future.
So you can't be afraid to speak up.
You can't. And yeah, it's your parents, and we have these cultural expectations and things like that. But I think there's a way to go about getting what you want.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a compromise, and if you can't compromise with your parents, then find a way to get a mediator or
Mm-hmm.
like a middle person so both sides can be seen.
Of course, because like in our culture, there's a thin line between speaking and voicing your opinions on what you want and being disrespectful.
Yeah. And like that's that line should not be there
Mm-hmm.
at all.
Yeah.
But unfortunately it is, and we just have to find a way to maneuver around it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always a way.
Oh, of course.
Always a way.
So, being someone that works in your field now, after you graduated and you're working with your degree, is there anything that you would have changed in the past?
I definitely would have taken my time.
Oh, okay.
I definitely would have tried to spread out some courses, because now I'm kind of upset because my GPA was not that good.
Mm-hmm.
Good enough to get me a job, but not good enough to do like a master's.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like everybody should have the opportunity to continue their education.
Mm-hmm.
But most schools look at the last 2 years, and my last 2 years were just horrendous. So there's still always a chance. I'm not going to tell, Asma, who's in first year university, like, care about your GPA.
Yeah.
I would say, hey, the last 2 years, be a little bit more serious. But that's, I think, the only regret I have. We're talking about regrets, right? Or
Yeah, basically.
because I feel like everything I did was the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had roadblocks, and I was very discouraged, and there were a lot of tears, but I never stopped. And that I carved my own path.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody should be doing that, instead of thinking I'm going to go to school, I'm going to apply for this program, and everything's going to be well.
Mm-hmm.
All is good. I think everybody has to be adaptable. You gotta
not be afraid to break the barriers.
you gotta think on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't be afraid to look stupid.
Okay.
You can't be
the
afraid
biggest
to look
issue.
stupid. I would go to office hours, not even showing up to lecture, asking my profs questions, and they're looking at me like, are you even in this class? I'm like, yeah, well, I'm studying at home
Yeah.
or on campus, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm still gonna get help from you because I need it. I'm not gonna shy away because of my attendance.
Mm-hmm.
But some people won't even do that. Some people can't even raise their hand to ask the prof questions, and I think that also comes from being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
What uni taught me was I learned how to be uncomfortable for so long.
Oh, okay.
I never had the best grades consistently,
Mm-hmm.
but I never let that stop me.
Mm-hmm.
I never had one course where I was like, oh, I think I'm going to do bad. I was like, oh, we'll see where it goes.
I said you had that optimism.
I'm very optimistic.
Yeah, okay.
If you could tell me I'll hit the lottery tomorrow, okay, I could.
Yeah.
I definitely could.
Okay. So do you have any advice you'd give someone that's like maybe in your position when you were in senior year applying for university?
I would say don't box yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Try different courses in uni. Yeah, I know there's like a set course that you have to take when you go into like your general program,
Mm-hmm.
but test out the waters. Spread out your course load.
Okay.
Because you might not actually hate school, you just hate the fact that you have like 50 assignments due in like 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
And have a good group of friends. Make friends from different programs, not for the purpose of networking, but just people can give you different perspectives.
Do you think that's important?
I think that's really, really, really important.
Oh, okay.
I had a group of friends who were also in STEM, but they were in bio and chem.
Mm-hmm.
And me, a computer science student, I had no business being friends with them. I'm not doing bioinformatics.
Yeah.
But seeing how their work ethic and how they
Mhm.
studied and how they structured their studying,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, maybe I can apply that with coding because like I'm not very like, I'm not of a bookworm when it comes to studying for CS.
Okay,
So
okay, yes.
just the way they work and how they support each other inspired me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, like, and then I had my own little community of CS friends, and we would overlap and take the same courses, with like
Mhm.
humanities and social science. So it was just nice to have other people who are not studying the same thing as you, that you can reach out with, study with, take the bus home, talk to,
Mm-hmm.
not every day talk about the same problem set, or talk about, oh, I hate this prof. It's just getting out of your comfort zone is
Yeah.
really important.
Of course, of course. How do you feel about undeclared majors?
I don't know too much about them. I don't even know
Mhm.
how they work,
Yeah.
but have fun. Like, do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't want to even say, oh, I'm undeclared, what you're also saying to people who see you
Mm-hmm.
is that you are being responsible.
Oh, okay, okay.
You're being responsible with your time and your mental health,
Mm-hmm.
because nobody should, like, look at the state of the world now. Nobody
Yeah.
should do anything they don't want to do.
Yeah, of course.
But when you are unsure,
Mm-hmm.
just make sure that you have the life skills to keep you going, and
Mhm.
that you're taking care of yourself in the best possible way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. So I think that's all I got for you today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, okay. I think you gave me some really good advice, and especially for the listeners I know that are struggling with some things.
Oh, I'm so glad. This is my first podcast. I listen to a lot, but it's just so nice to actually be on one.
Okay, well, thank you for appearing as a guest on our podcast. And this was the East Intersection with your host Sabrina and our guest Asma. Okay, so I'm Sabrina and I'm back. I just wanted to come back in here and just, kind of like touch up on little things that Asma mentioned, or just speak about things in terms of the podcast in general. And just to start off, I just wanted to like look back on the fact that I know we've been talking about education a lot and post-secondary education specifically, but I just wanted to like come back in here and remind you guys that education isn't everything. And I'm mostly speaking to the people that are probably younger and in high school, because I know this is a big factor. Everybody's trying to, go to a nice post-secondary university or college, have that respectable name to back you up as you're in school, you know what I mean? But yeah, school isn't everything, to be honest. I know a lot of people realize this as they get older, and I'm starting to realize this myself, even though I'm speaking as someone in school right now. But yeah, honestly, you can look around society right now, especially during the pandemic. You can see how many people have taken the route of entrepreneurship and just been one to take that initiative and do something for themselves. Because you guys have probably seen in the news the amount of people that are quitting their jobs, you know what I mean? So I think that clarity came within the last 2 years as well, of the fact that I'm just going to start doing what makes me happy. And it's kind of sad that that realization comes so late in life when you're already taking down the path that society wants you to go down. You know what I mean? So, yeah, just to reiterate, school is not everything. So, yeah, if you guys, right now, if you open up TikTok, if you guys have TikTok, or if you just like look on the internet, you can see so many people doing up different things, different startup business. I have friends myself that have actually tried to, start up their own businesses. And that just goes to show you that it's just, because I know beforehand, it used to be like, you look at entrepreneurs that are successful, and it's just like those one or two people. You look at Elon Musk, or you look at Jeff Bezos, and you're like, yo, like that's a 1 in a million chance. Like I can never be that person. But if you guys look on the internet now, you can see how people, although they're not necessarily what society deems to be successful, that term can be, you can take it back and you can make it subjective. You know what I mean? What is successful to you? To me, successful means that you're making a good amount of money. You don't necessarily have to be making wads of cash. You know what I mean? That's a little unnecessary. You can be comfortable, but most importantly, you're doing something that makes you happy. Something that makes you want to get up and do the same thing over again. You know what I mean? Because that's what life is. At the end of the day, as sad as it is, it's usually just a cycle, and it's just everything repeating and going over. You can obviously take things into your own hands and, take time off to go to vacation and everything, but there's only so many vacation days you can take. You know what I mean? So that's what's most important, doing something that makes you happy, regardless of whether you're taking that route of entrepreneurship or you're in school. I feel like because you're in school for such a long time, you might as well do something and set yourself up for something that makes you happy within your career choice, because you're going to be doing that for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? So, yeah, school isn't everything. And also, what I wanted to touch up on was the fact that having those interpersonal relationships with people in school, if you are in school, actually, you know what? Let's talk about high school. Let's forget about university for a second, or college. Let's just talk about high school, because everybody, that's mandatory. Come on now. So, having those interpersonal relationships within high school was so important to me. And Asma spoke about how it was important for her, how in grade 11, she had her teacher who was a minority as well, and he really encouraged her to fall in love with coding. And he gave her that support while she was in school. And I feel like that's so important to have, because when I was in high school, even though it wasn't that long ago, to be honest, when I was in high school, I had those teachers that I absolutely adored. They really made school bearable for me, because I'm someone who does not like doing the same thing over and over again. So just waking up every day 5 times a week, going to school, coming home, doing homework, waking up again, and doing the same thing over and over again it was horrible. I hated every single second of it. Like, I know a lot of people can relate, and some people can't. Some people enjoy school. It's just to each their own. There's no better way to put it. But yeah, like when I'd go to school and I'd have those teachers, I remember there's one specifically in grade 10, my math teacher. She was probably the best teacher I ever had in my life, honestly. And she's one of the reasons why I'm staying in my degree today. So, as you guys probably know, and I mentioned in other episodes, I'm doing teaching as well. I'm doing a concurrent program, sorry. And that's just going to set me up with my teacher's college, and my undergraduate at the same time. So, yeah, so I'm going down the route of teaching, and I am having second doubts. And I think that's just normal for someone not to be sure about what they're going to do, because the future is such a scary thing. As you look at it, it's so vast, and you don't know what it can encompass. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm in my teacher's degree right now, and I feel like looking back at it, when I do look back at my grade 10 teacher, she makes me want to stay in my degree. As weird as that sounds, when I look back at it, I want to be that person for someone else. You know what I mean? I want to be that safe space, I guess we can call it, safe space for another generation, or even if it's not a generation, just if it's one student, I feel like I've done what I've come to do. Like, I fulfilled my purpose. You know what I mean? Because she allowed me to find something new within school. You know what I mean? Something that I wasn't used to. And it was just, whether it came in the form of just meaningless conversations at lunch, you know, or the little things she'd put in her lesson to make it engaging. It was just, it made everything so much better. So I feel like I would want to do that for someone else. And that's why I'm staying in my degree right now, no matter how much wishy-washiness I have right now. But yeah, that's what's keeping me grounded. And that just goes to show you how important it is to have interpersonal relationships within your educational institution. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think that's all I want to say. And I just wanted to let you guys know that school isn't everything. And within school, it's always good to find those uplifting things, you know, that little light at the end of the tunnel that you can look forward to. So I just wanted to say that and give you guys my little 2 cents. And I also wanted to wrap up the series because this is going to be the end of the mini-series, you know? So, but don't fret because I don't think it's going to be the end of the podcast in general. Me and Hala will be seeing you guys at some point, hopefully. But for now, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys could take away something from this, even if it was just a little bit. But it's been great. I've enjoyed the last 3 episodes with you guys, and I'm looking forward to the future. Bye bye. Have a great day, everybody.